In today's climate, nothing will make you a more accurate or confident shooter than Crimson Trace laser sighting systems. Get the immediate, decisive advantage of the world's only grip-integrated laser sights today. Shoot better. Stay safer. Crimson Trace.
Today on Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, Majority Whip Steve Scalise's reaction to the White House executive actions, plus new guns from Springfield Armory and a unique training event at Gunsight. All that and more. To be a part of the show, call Tom at 866-825-5486. That's 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Now, here's Tom.
Yes, indeedy. Lots of things going on this week, weren't there? We had the circus came to town in the form of President Obama in his town hall with Anderson Cooper. We had the president wiping away a tear. Oh my gosh, there was so much made of that. And then, of course, that was while he was doing his press conference surrounded by children. And then, of course, his invitation-only town hall, which is kind of like diametrically opposed. You can't really have a town hall where it's an invitation only. Town halls traditionally, historically in this country is where everybody in the town got together and shared ideas. But in this case, you had to be invited, and then you, of course, had to be selected, and then you had to have your questions pre-approved. Yeah. And then you got to be lectured, condescendingly, I might add, by the arrogant one. And then you got to be talked down to, and then you even got to be mocked, as gun owners were, by the president, about imaginary fantasies of conspiracies to take away guns. Yes. Well, we will address all of that and more today. It's a lot of things going on. We're going to be having, looks like we're working on getting Congressman Steve Scalise, the Majority Whip, on, trying to get through to his phone right now. We'll be talking about some interesting new products that are being introduced in advance of SHOT Show. And also, toward the end of the show, we're going to be talking about an incredible class where you could actually take a class that includes incredible handgun shooting, carbine, AR-15, and knife fighting and unarmed fighting. That's going to be something really special. So, I have to admit to you, I couldn't watch the president doing his thing in this town hall meeting. I recorded it, but I just couldn't watch it at the time. It was, as I say, it was not just theater. I'm used to theater. It was a circus. It was a pre-programmed circus. Oh, I see. We do have Congressman Steve Scalise joins us right now. He is the U.S. House Majority Whip from the state of Louisiana, my home state, actually from not very far from where I'm sitting at the moment. Congressman, thank you for joining us here on Gun Talk.
Great to be with you, Tom. I appreciate what you do to defend the Second Amendment.
Well, thank you, sir. I was looking at some of your comments following President Obama's first, of course, he had his announcement of his executive actions, and then he had this, and I can hardly even say the words, town hall meeting, which, of course, is, limited access. You have to submit your questions ahead of time. It's not exactly historically in the U.S. when you had a town hall meeting, everybody from the town got together. First of all, I guess your first initial reaction to everything he's doing is, in essence, going around Congress and the will of the people.
Yeah, and Tom, what I would say is he's trying to go around Congress, and he's not going to be successful. But it does give you yet one further insight into the thought. I think most of your listeners probably already know this, but for Americans who really want to give the president the benefit of the doubt, this just crystallizes to them his real intention is to try to take away as many gun rights as he can of law-abiding citizens. And Congress has fought him at every turn, and he's going to try to go to executive action. But look, the courts aren't going to allow it. Congress isn't going to allow it. But at least it exposes to people what's at stake. And frankly, the fact that Hillary Clinton doesn't come out against what the president's trying to do tells you she feels the exact same way.
She actually said on the news programs this morning on TV that she not only supported what the president was proposing, but she was prepared to go further. So she, as the common phrase now is she did, in fact, double down. She actually amplified his message and said, not only is he a gun grabber, I'm going to be an even bigger gun grabber.
Exactly, and voters need to know this going into November because, look, Barack Obama's probably been the best gun salesman in the history of the firearms industry. I mean, more guns have been sold during his presidency. You saw gun stocks actually went through the roof when the president announced this executive overreach. So he's not achieving his goal of gun control. But, look, Congress is going to continue to fight him on every front. But it exposes it to the American people who are not against law-abiding citizens owning guns. I mean, this is a distraction, or at least an attempt for the president to distract away from his failed policy on ISIS, where you've got radical Islamic terrorists coming to America, not only saying they're going to come to America to inflict terrorism on our country, but actually doing it in the case of San Bernardino. And in San Bernardino, what was the president's first reaction? Not to denounce ISIS and saying he's going to go take them out, but to say he's going to try to limit the rights of law-abiding citizens who want to own guns. It's ludicrous.
Well, of course, the things he proposes, it's very interesting. First of all, of course, none of them would actually have stopped any of these mass shootings. And number two, a number of them are actually, and here's the weirdest part of it all, the things that are getting his biggest applause lines, where you say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And the rest of us are scratching our heads and going, well, wait a minute. That's already the law. When he says, well, if you're in the business of selling a gun, you have to have a license. We're going, yeah, well, that's been law since 1968. What are you doing here?
Yeah, and, he talks about background checks. I mean, background checks are already run. Again, like you pointed out, all of the real tragic shootings we've seen, what the president has proposed has nothing to do with those. I mean, most of those wouldn't have changed a thing. One of the things that's been pointed out, and I've pointed this out and many others have pointed out, is if you look at the laws already on the books, this president's actually had double-digit reductions in going after people who violate existing laws.
Yes.
If he really was sincere, and let's talk about sincerity, because words are meaningless if you don't back them up with actions. But when you look at Barack Obama's actions, he has actually had a reduction in prosecuting gun crimes. So people who break existing gun laws, this president's had in his presidency over 30% reduction in going after those people. So when he proposes laws that he knows will never get on the books, how about you go after the people who are breaking existing laws? It's like immigration laws. He won't enforce the laws on the books, but he wants to go after people who are actually complying with the law.
I had an idea along those lines, and you help me with this, see if my thinking is right. There are a lot of things he announces that he doesn't actually have the ability to do. But one thing he could do is he could direct the Department of Justice to tell all of the U.S. attorneys around the country, if when you get a case of a violent criminal who has a felony record and has a gun, treat it seriously and prosecute and send this person to federal prison for felon in possession of a gun, because right now you can't get anywhere in the country a U.S. attorney to take a case like that. Now, wouldn't he have the ability to at least do that?
Well, yeah, and you look at San Francisco when you had that tragic murder of this young girl in San Francisco by an illegal alien. Why isn't he being aggressive at least deporting people who violate laws that are here illegally? If somebody's here illegally and then they go and actually commit criminal crimes against law-abiding citizens, why isn't he aggressively deporting those people who are inflicting criminal pain against our law-abiding citizens? I mean, it just seems like he's got this disdain for people who believe in the Second Amendment and comply with the law, and he's not going after the people who are breaking the law.
All right, now you're the majority whip. You are the legislation wrangler, if you will, the guy who moves legislation through. So let me ask you, I guess the big question is, what can Congress do? What is Congress doing? And can we in any way expect something like national reciprocity? I mean, are there any good things that we can see being done, or are there some things you can do to block what President Obama is doing?
Yeah, sure. In fact, I've led legislation. I've worked with the National Rifle Association and Gun Owners of America to have true reciprocity, but also if you go buy a gun at a gun show complying with all the laws, right now you have to ship it back, put it in the mail, jeopardize that it could actually get lost in the mail, which happens, instead of being able to take it back to your state. If you're in compliance with the laws of both states, shouldn't you be able to take that gun back home with you? And this will apply to our military as well. But, we're going to continue to move forward positive pro-gun legislation, but also we're going to block anything he does. Just for people that are concerned about what the president announced last week, it hasn't taken effect. In fact, some of the changes he's proposing will probably get fought in the courts and not even start and take effect. But we're also looking at legislation, if we need to block things that he's trying to do that are illegal, and make sure that the president is not going to be successful at taking away the rights of law-abiding citizens, especially as it relates to the Second Amendment.
You're right there in D.C. I used to work there. I was there for several years, and I always said nobody should be allowed to read the Washington Post for more than 2 years. But you get in this incubator there, and it's almost an echo chamber. If for those who don't live there, don't work there, aren't part of that, help us understand this echo chamber where after a while, people can actually convince themselves that this is what the people want because they're not getting out and talking to everybody else in the country.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important that members of Congress go back home, hold town hall meetings. I enjoy having town hall meetings in my district. We get to turnout. You talk, you hear from people about all kinds of issues. In fact, sometimes you find out about things that are happening from these unelected bureaucrats in Washington by people on the front lines, by people that are the victims of it. It's how we were able to find out that the IRS was targeting conservatives based on their political views. It's because we were having town hall meetings and hearing from our constituents, and we took that back to Washington and were able to hold the administration accountable and expose the scandal. So we're going to continue to do the oversight of exposing scandal while we're also fighting legislatively and in the courts. But look, when you look at somebody like Justice Roberts, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, when you had the Obamacare case, it made you wonder what kind of this bubble like you're talking about. When all the people on the cocktail party circuit, I don't get invited to these cocktail parties, but people are doing mostly elite liberals. And the liberals have that mentality, and they were almost trying to intimidate Roberts, saying, look, you don't want your legacy to be repealing Obamacare. And I wonder if that had any kind of effect when he cast the wrong vote of saying Obamacare should remain the law of the land, when literally you had even Justice Kennedy ready to throw the whole thing out.
So what are we looking for in the next minute or so here? What can you do? What will you be able to do basically to hold back because Obama wants to push as hard as he can. He's in the last lap of his presidency, and he's trying to get as much done as he can any way he can.
Yeah, and look, we're not going to let him take away our Second Amendment rights. We're going to do everything that is necessary to block it, and we'll be successful on this front too, Tom. But I think what is most important is to continue to remind, especially these swing voters in the swing states, in these next few months, what's at stake in November. Because we're going to elect a president that not only either shares our values, whichever Republican in the field gets the nomination, I feel very confident will take us in a much different direction, in a better direction. But it needs to be reminded to everybody that Hillary Clinton, like you said, wants to double down on the president's failed agenda, including his attempt to take away our Second Amendment rights. And so there could be no more critical election in our history than the one coming up in November. People need to know what's at stake. Absolutely.
Congressman Steve Scalise, the Majority Whip, thank you so much for spending some time with us. And then tell you what, when you're back in the state, let's get together.
We'll look forward to it. Thanks for what you're doing.
All right, you take care. All righty, what are your questions about what the president announced, what he has done? I can probably answer a lot of them. 866-TALK-GUN will get you in here, 866-TALK-GUN, or just dial 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Other ways to reach me, of course, on Twitter, I'm at GUNTALK, or you can just shoot me an email, tom@guntalk.com. When you saw the president, how did you react?
Hi, this is Sarah. A silencer is today's most popular firearm accessory because it makes shooting sports more enjoyable. You're able to wear little or no hearing protection, and it decreases recoil, offering greater shooting accuracy. It's perfect for hunters and those who want more social interaction during shooting sports. So why are you waiting? SilencerShop.com is easier and faster than buying one off the shelf because they handle all the details, and they have the largest selection of top brands. Visit SilencerShop.com to find a silencer for your firearm.
Who will you trust with your guns and valuables? Liberty safes are the best built and most secure safes on the planet. They sell more gun safes than any other brand. It's about trust earned through performance. If your Liberty safe is damaged by fire or attempted break-in, they'll send a new safe right to your home. Protection from thieves and fire. Trust the #1 maker of quality gun safes. LibertySafe.com.
You're at a gun store and your phone tells you about hot deals. Want to know about special offers? No problem when you have Gun Dealio, the free app for your smartphone. Gun Dealio delivers the latest deals on guns, ammo, and extras direct to your phone. Don't overpay for your shooting gear. Get Gun Dealio. It's free at the App Store and Google Play. Trigger the deals with Gun Dealio. GunDealio.com.
Attacks happen every day. How will you react? See real people put into real-life criminal attack situations on First Person Defender. Discover what works and what doesn't. Kidnapping, ATM robbery, home invasion, and other attacks. Learn how to save your life and the lives of your family. Get the entire first season on DVD at ShopGunTalk.com. Get prepared. ShopGunTalk.com.
Crossbreed Holsters is broadening our product selection to serve more of your concealed carry needs. With products handmade in the USA, like the bedside backup, gun belts, and of course our world-famous Super Tuck and Mini Tuck holsters, we understand what works, and we take pride in providing you with a quality product. At Crossbreed Holsters, we live and breathe concealed carry. We make and sell products that we believe in and products that our customers love. To see more, go to crossbreedholsters.com. That's crossbreedholsters.com.
All right, back with you, 866 Talk Gun. I'm going to try to explain some of the things that President Obama proposed. I guess announced is actually the better word, because he's not proposing laws. He's saying, I'm taking executive action, which, by the way, is different from an executive order. Executive order has more weight to it. The weird part is, as a lot of people pointed out and recognized immediately, is that a number of the things that he said he was going to do, and he got great applause lines for it, are already the law, have been the law for a long time. Like in the case of, if you're in the business of selling guns, you're going to be required to have a federal firearms license. Yes. And that, sir, has been the law since the 1968 Gun Control Act was passed. 1968. That's a long time ago. But, of course, what he follows it up with was, what that really means is we're going to take a look at what it means to be in the business. Well, that's great, because, you know what? Since 1968, we, gun owners, have been saying, can you explain to us what being, quote unquote, in the business actually means? So is there like a certain number of guns I can sell at a gun show, or what's that involved? And so what we get from that is, well, we really can't tell you. But if you go too far with it, we'll arrest you. That's like driving down the highway and there are no speed limit signs. And the policeman says, well, yeah, I know, but I tell you what, if you go too fast, I'll pull you over. How's that? The idea, of course, is to make it impossible to know if you are breaking the law and make you afraid. Let me explain that. To make you afraid. A chilling effect, it's called. And then in the process of their paper they put out, they said, of course, we have prosecuted people for selling as few as 2 guns and being in the business. But that doesn't necessarily mean you would be prosecuted for selling 2 guns. Chilling effect. It's a threat. If you threaten someone, is that terrorism? Line 3, Max is with us out of Killeen, Texas. Hey, Max, what are you thinking here?
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
I'm good.
Oh, I'm a long-time listener. I've never called you before, so I figured I'd give you a call now. But I want to bring up something that I don't hear anybody talking about within the media in regards to what the president said about registration following his conversation with the priest from Chicago.
Okay.
What he had said, the priest was talking about registering firearms, right? And Obama's reasoning for not doing it was because he couldn't get legislation to get approved. Now, he didn't say that in those exact words, but that was his basic reasoning for it, is that he can't get it. Never mind the whole reasoning behind not having a registry is because that puts an exponential amount of power in the hands of the federal government in regards to your firearms. That wasn't his reasoning for it. It was because he knew he couldn't get it. And I think that speaks towards the intention.
Yeah. Well, of course, there are two federal laws that, and people don't understand this, two federal laws that prohibit gun registration. It is quite literally against the law for the federal government to register guns. They would have to undo those or pass another law. And to your point, this kind of sounds like the whole Dianne Feinstein deal. Of the reason I didn't do it is because I couldn't get the votes. As she told Mr. CBS 60 Minutes, she says, but if I could have gotten the votes, I would have picked them all up, turned them all in. In other words, total gun confiscation. If I could have gotten the votes, if I could have gotten 51 votes, she says, I could have picked them all up. And that's kind of where we are here. Gun registration. Why would we need that? Why would we want that? What would it mean? And what form would we see that arrive in? Oh, I know. It would be called universal background checks. Because the only way that universal background checks, with air quotes around the word, work, would be if we know who has every gun. Then we would know if it was transferred to someone else, and you would probably have to do an annual check-in on all the guns that you have to make sure no guns have left your possession or come into your possession without there being a federal record of it. Universal background checks are gun registration. That's all they are. That's all there is there. When you understand that, you understand why Bloomberg wants it so much, and you understand why they are pushing it so much. All right, so what happens to the NFA trust? You have a trust for your suppressors, for other NFA items. There have been some changes there. Surprisingly, one of them is not all bad. I'll explain that when we come back here on Gun Talk.
Sign up for our Gun Talk newsletter and join the Truth Squad at www.guntalk.com. Now, back to Gun Talk with Washington Times opinion page regular contributor Tom Gresham.
All right, we're getting ready for the SHOT Show. Head out, about a week from today, or actually a week from yesterday. We head out for the SHOT Show where most of the major gun companies will be announcing new products. Some of the gun companies are announcing them ahead of time. We'll actually be talking about that in the next hour, but I can give you a heads up. You can go there now. If you go to 1950, this is a website, like the year 1950, 1950.springfield-armory.com. You can see they're announcing a new product every day, and we made a bunch of videos with them, so they've got all these, what I think are really good videos. I hope they're good. We made them working with Rob Latham and crew, and some of them are just plain funny. So you can go there, 1950.springfield-armory.com. Mike is calling in out of Moody, Texas, line 2. Mike, what's going on with your local gun show?
Well, we just got to see a lot of the confusion over some of this new stuff that people don't know if it's laws. They don't know anything about it. A lot of people scared to death, I think, is what a lot of it is. There's a show, it's the Real Gun Show. It's, of course, Belton is a fairly small town. This is not a big show, but for us, it's a pretty big deal, 2-day show. In fact, it's going right now. They had a crew, excuse the voice, I got the bad allergies, but anyway, they had a film crew came in yesterday, and they said it's a Spanish film crew. Now, I'm assuming they're talking about Spain. They came in right after noon, I guess. Didn't interview a lot of people. I saw them talk to 4 people, but when they did, it was 20 minutes at a stretch. Talked to the show promoter. And I dropped in, eavesdropped a little bit. I heard one of the guys telling him what Greg Abbott is doing and all this kind of stuff. Didn't get a whole lot of details. If I can give you a contact number, if you put me on with your screener later, if you want to talk to the promoter.
No, that's all right. But what was the reaction on the part of the people there?
Well, the biggest reaction was, I heard, is the number was 14 of exhibitors, vendors did not show up. They called in
because of this.
Yes, and that was probably 1/3. I mean, it gutted the show. That was probably 1/3. And if you notice, it's all of the people that are private sellers, all of your dealers and everything were still there. Everything was business as usual. But let
me ask you a question. Why would the show promoter allow a documentary crew in there?
Well, that has still not really been answered. I know the guy fairly well. He's pretty straight up and honest, and he went so far as if we're set up, if you're a vendor, you had your choice of either a red vendor's badge or, I don't know, green or yellow. I don't know what the other color was. And if you had a red badge, you were off limits to that crew. They were not to approach you in any form or fashion. If you had a green badge, that means you were open to talking to them. So he at least did his vendors that service. I'm just assuming this is probably a way to put an international flair in a documentary about American gun law. Is probably what it is.
I get that. I just don't know what's in it for a show operator, because you're always taking a chance when somebody like that comes in. And the other thing, and look, I'm not trying to be unkind to people, but a lot of people on our side of the fence, just as across the general public, are just not very good at this. When you put a camera in their face, they end up saying the same things over and over again that everybody says. They go to the platitudes, and they're just frankly not real good. And that's where, as a show promoter, if I were, I tell you, here's how I would do it. If I were doing it and I said, okay, I'm going to make this happen, I'm going to pick 3 people who I know are really good at this, and I'm going to hand deliver these people to the guys with the cameras, and that's who they can talk to, and that's all that they can talk to. If they won't do it that way, they don't get in. But letting them just roam around, man, I don't know. I don't think I would do that. Hey, Mike, listen, I got to keep running here, but I appreciate the call, sir. Pete is in Lake Charles, Louisiana, on line 3. Pete, what you thinking here?
Hey, Pete. I'm sorry, Tom. This is Pete. Just trying to get what the definition of gun show loophole is. I'm an FFL and done well over 1,000 transfers, but have never experienced any kind of gun show loophole.
Okay, sure, I can explain it. It's something that has existed for a long time. The gun show loophole is real, and it is something that we need to be aware of. A gun show loophole is a law that gun banners hate.
Okay.
Simple as that. I mean, it is simple as that. It is existing law that they hate and they want to get rid of. So it's a right that you have that they want to get rid of. It's an ability that you have that they want to get rid of. So they call it a loophole. And here's the deal. I'm having fun with you, Pete. You know what I'm doing here. For those who don't know, let me just explain. All the laws inside a gun show are identical to the laws outside a gun show. There are no exceptions made for anything that happens in a gun show. It's all the same. So if you're a licensed dealer, you have to do a background check, whether it's in your store or any other place. If you're a private citizen without a federal firearms license, and you're not in one of the states that requires it, then you can do a private sale to someone in or outside of a gun show. So the gun show doesn't change anything. I mean, and I know you know this, Pete, but that's just what this really is the gun show loophole is another buzzword that the gun banners have come up with, right along with, let's see, Saturday Night Special, assault weapon, gun show loophole, 2 or 3 others that they do to frighten the public who doesn't know the difference.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. It just seems like it makes there's some aspect of the business that seems dirty, and appreciate the definition on that.
Sure, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, well, look, something shady is going on inside of gun shows. Then you say, well, really, how is the law inside a gun show different? Well, it's not, but that's not the point. And you go, well, what is the point? Well, the point is they don't want you to be able to ever sell or give a gun to somebody without the federal government being a part of it. They want every transfer of a gun to be a three-party transaction. You, the person who's getting the gun, and the FBI. That's the way it is when you buy a gun at a gun store or from a gun dealer, a licensed dealer, even at a gun show. You got the seller, then it's the FBI that has to okay it, and then the buyer. Now, in a couple of states where they've gotten this quote-unquote universal background check, that's what happens there. And it's not just when you're selling a gun. That's the part that people need to understand. It's also when you are loaning a gun. So if I want to loan you a shotgun for you to go shoot pheasants this weekend, we've got to ask the FBI, Mother may I, can I please loan this gun to my buddy and pay somebody some money? And then after the weekend's over and you bring me the gun back, you can't just give me the gun back. Oh, no. We have to, again, ask the FBI if it's okay. It's ludicrous, but it's what they want. It's the total control. And here's the thing. If you have to ask permission and you can't get it, then what happens? All sales, all transfers stop. 866-TALK-GUN.
No matter what gun you have, you want it to hit harder, shoot faster and flatter, and be more accurate. You get all that with the ammunition from Double Tap. Double Tap's experts select the best bullets, then load them to higher velocities while keeping safe pressures. Shoot small groups. Shoot farther. Use custom hunting loads in your handgun or rifle. Even fire 2 projectiles with 1 shot. DoubleTapAmmo.com. That's DoubleTapAmmo.com.
You got your carry permit, and that's good. But you know you could use more training. Get the DVDs, which have what you need. Springfield Armory presents Concealed Carry 1 and Concealed Carry 2 with Bata Group. Learn specific concealed carry skills from Top Gun fighting trainers. Get trained. Be prepared. This really is life and death. ShopGunTalk.com. That's ShopGunTalk.com.
What makes a legacy? Is it quality? Craftsmanship? Maybe it's the idea that every American deserves their right to security and peace of mind on and off the battlefield. What makes a legacy? Here at Colt, we're making it every day. Colt, built one at a time, proven every round.
Hi, this is Tom Gresham from Gun Talk. America is losing critical wildlife habitat at a rate of 1 football field every hour. It's happening on the Louisiana coast, but it's critical to all sportsmen and conservationists. These precious wetlands provide winter habitat for more than 10 million ducks and geese annually, waterfowl that migrate north through dozens of states. Don't shrug it off. Get involved. You can help. Visit vanishingparadise.org.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
All right, back with you. 866-TALK-GUN. Get you in there. John's on 4 out of West Leechburg. Hey, John, how are you?
Oh, good, Tom. Good, Tom. Hey, you know, I'm just curious here why I'm babbling. All right, the Second Amendment. and all these gun laws that Obama wants to put in place. Right here in Pennsylvania, we have an entire group of people that currently cannot purchase a legal firearm, even though they're not criminals.
Talk to me.
They're Amish, and you have to have a photo ID to purchase a firearm. And it goes against their religious beliefs to have a picture of themselves taken. So I believe Ohio and New York also have people in the same boat. Why aren't we attack back under religious persecution? Other than the fact that Amish don't vote, and no self-respecting politician would bother to stand up for these people.
Well, all right, here's the basic problem here, John, is that all the politicians and a lot of the gun support people, the gun rights people, have bought into, well, background checks are good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not. You know, we've bought into the whole Brady campaign deal. We've had it for so long that people have grown up with it. They think, well, yeah, we've always had background checks and they're good. Well, no, they're not good. They don't do any good. They cost us billions of dollars. They don't do anything good. They don't stop bad guys. Bad guys keep getting their guns. It is just in the way of everything. But nobody has the guts to stand up and say, let's wipe out the entire background check system and just get rid of it and go back to where we were when, you know, in the 1950s and 60s, when you could go into a hardware store and buy a gun without having to ask, please, mother, may I, of the FBI.
Yeah, we have a paper here. It's called The Horse Trader. And it's similar to, I don't know if you have a green sheet or whatever, but you put items up for sale. And I've sold a half a dozen rifles in the past 10 years to Amish because they don't need a background check buying it from me. And this is the only way they can legally purchase a firearm. So now they won't be able to, if I understand the laws, they won't be able to legally purchase a firearm, from a used firearm.
Well, if they put in this universal background check, which has not been done, which is not part of what President Obama has done, so don't worry, that's not part of this deal, okay? So don't put that aside. Look, I appreciate the call. Oh, I promised I would explain the NFA stuff. Here's what happened. National Firearms Act, suppressors, machine guns. The law is, under Obama, he's going to direct a change in the law by himself, the emperor, and two major things with that. One is that currently, as an individual, you have to get a sign-off from the CLEO, the Chief Law Enforcement Officer, where you live, to buy a suppressor or a machine gun. So even though the federal government says you're okay, if your local sheriff won't sign off on that, then that you can't get that. Well, what President Obama has done is they have removed the requirement to get a sign-off from the CLEO, the Chief Law Enforcement Officer. That's actually a good thing. Now, what's not a great thing is what they've done with trust, because a lot of people have trusts set up for their NFA because, well, frankly, for a lot of us, like where I live, our local sheriff won't sign off on them, period. He's going out of office now, and I hope that part of that reason is because he wouldn't. But no longer will a trust have to seek that goes away because that you never had to seek the approval of a CLEO before. But what has changed is if you have a trust, one of the principals of the trust must submit photograph and fingerprints with every application for every item purchased. That's currently not required. So that's not a great thing. It means you got to go pay for getting photographed and fingerprinted every time you buy something. I don't know if these will stand after the president's gone. If Hillary Clinton is elected, yes, they will stand and they will go further and further and further. If a Republican is elected, he or she, I guess, could wipe out these executive actions, and I hope would, and do a whole lot more. So that's basically what has happened with the NFA. No more seeking the approval of the Chief Law Enforcement Officer. That's now just a notification and not a sign-off. So at least that's a good thing. The rest of it is pretty much just window dressing and him standing up and pretending to do things that already are law and getting credit for it from a sycophant media who won't ask even one hard question. All right, welcome back. In a few minutes, on the next hour, we'll be talking about some great products that have been released and some of the videos we've made on them. We've been able to play with some of the new cool gear that's out there. And also, then we're going to be talking about this incredible class that's going to be offered over at GUNSIGHT using top pistol shooter, top rifle shooter, and the knife guy who scares everybody. I mean, I don't care who they are, Navy SEALs, anybody who has worked with this guy, their eyes get real big when I talk to them. They go, that dude scares me. Yeah, me too. Oh, here's one. Do you remember a call we had some time back from a fella in Oklahoma? He and his wife have been foster parents for a long time. And he said, but the Oklahoma Department of Health and Services now says that if you're a foster parent, you can't have any guns in the house. And we went round and round with that. Well, I took that information, contacted Alan Gottlieb at the Second Amendment Foundation, and something happened on this. The Second Amendment Foundation has filed a federal lawsuit against the Oklahoma Department of Human Services on behalf of Stephen and Krista Persley. They're the ones who called GUNTALK to talk to us about this. They've been foster parents to 34 children in Oklahoma. This release says, providing these youngsters with a stable environment. However, Oklahoma Department of Health and Services, or is that Human Services? That's Human Services. Quote, completely prohibits foster and adoptive parents from the possession of firearms for the purposes of self-defense. That's what the lawsuit alleges. So this is one of those where calling GUNTALK, contacting me, results in some action. We actually are able to help people in a lot of different ways. A lot of them don't make the news. And sometimes it's just a case of me referring something to the right person and something happens and we get action. And happy to do that. Happy to be helpful as much as we can. All right, line one, Ray, St. Augustine, Florida. He's looking up at Virginia. What are you saying, Ray?
Hey, Tom. So I know that you're aware of Virginia Nixon about 25 states reciprocity agreements. So now I'm thinking, what's the next move in their playbook? I see that there's 3 options left for people still wishing to legally carry in Virginia. You first got unlicensed open carry up there. You've got Virginia's non-resident license that you get through the mail. And the number 3, Utah. All right, so you got that. All right, so you're going to force people to open carry. I see them possibly complaining about that and then banning it like California did in about 2012. And then them complaining about, they're using the loophole, the Utah loophole. You need to close this loophole. Do you think that's a possibility? I really see that coming. I think they pretty much
I think you're right. I think what's going to happen is what's happened in other states where they're going to say, okay, if you are a Utah resident and you have a Utah permit, your permit would be good here. But if you are someone who lives in another state and you get a non-resident Utah permit, we're not going to honor that. There are several other states that will not honor a non-resident permit. So I think that's very possible. I also think the legislature in Virginia is going to take some action on this. I think you can't imagine how mad the people in the legislature are about what the governor and the attorney general have done in Virginia. You can't imagine how livid they are at them taking this unilateral action. And I could absolutely see them passing a law with enough votes to override a veto that would basically say Virginia will honor a carry permit from any state. Or if they really wanted to go somewhere and just say, you know what, permits are not necessary for carry in Virginia, whether you're a resident or a non-resident. That way, if you're in a state that doesn't have permits or you don't have to have one there, you can carry there also. Hey, coming up, Rob Latham. We're going to be talking about some cool video and great guns.